your math teacher from Ismailia Youth Services Schools, and today we are going to learn demonstrative geometry, in which we are going to learn theorem number 1, 2, 4, and 7. You can also see the page numbers on this slide. Before starting the lesson, let me give you some instructions first. Don't raise hand during teaching. Ask questions at the end of the teaching. Use hand-free if you are using mobile and headphone for the computer use. Feed your ID and password properly with your name and class. Take care of time for attending the class. Home tasks should be done in your fair copy of the subject. And if there is any disconnectivity during the teaching, try to join again within 5 to 10 minutes. Now starting the theorems by its definition. A general proposition not self-evident but proved by a chain of reasoning. A truth established by means of accepted truths. What does it mean? It means that a proposition has been given, or you can say it a general proposition or general enunciation. So whenever such type of general enunciation has been proposed, you have to prove it by chain of reasoning, which we are going to prove a few theorems in this session as well. 6 steps of proof. So there are 6 steps through which we can prove a theorem, which are general enunciation, figure or diagram, given or data, required to prove, construction, and proof itself. So starting from the theorem number 1, this is the general enunciation in which there are 2 parts. The first part is called as the hypothesis and the second part is the conclusion. The hypothesis is that, for example, in this theorem number 1, if 2 lines intersect. So this is a possibility that if 2 lines intersect, this is a condition. This is called as the hypothesis of the general enunciation. Then the vertically opposite angles so formed are congruent. So this thing based on the prior thing, that if 2 lines intersect, then this will happen. So this is called as the conclusion of the general enunciation. So this is a general enunciation which we are going to prove by the 6 steps of proof which we have learned in the previous slide. So what does theorem number 1 says? It says that if 2 lines intersect, the vertically opposite angles so formed are congruent. Then suppose this is the line number 1, which is AB. This is PQ, line number 2. So what was the hypothesis? That if 2 lines intersect. So these are the 2 lines which we are showing through the figure, that they are intersecting at point O. Then the vertically opposite angles so formed. So first vertically opposite angle is POA, which is vertically opposite to BOQ. And the second vertically opposite angle is POB, which is opposite to the AOQ. So the measurement of these vertically opposite angles are congruent. This was the general enunciation and this is the figure. Now what has been given through with the help of the figure and the statement itself, we have concluded that the given thing is that if 2 lines, first is AB and the second one is PQ, intersect at O. This was given. So we have to prove that the vertically opposite angles, what were the angles? POB and AOQ. And there is another pair, AOP and BOQ. So they both pairs are congruent. The first pair is congruent to each other and the second one is congruent to each other as well. Before starting the proof, let us clarify some terms which we are going to discuss in the proof. So they must be clear in your minds, so it would be easier for you to understand the proof. So the first term is supplement postulate. What is supplement postulate? The supplement postulate states that if 2 angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. In the figure, angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary by the supplement postulate. What does it mean? It means that this is a line, right? So there are 2 angles on this line. So these 2 angles are forming a linear pair. Linear pair means that they are two angles and both are on a same line, so they are making a linear pair. So whenever there are two angles which make a linear pair, it means that they are supplementary. Supplementary means that both sum up to make 180 degrees. So in this figure, you can see angle number 1 and angle number 2 both are on a line, on a same line. So they both sum up together to make 180 degrees. So it means that the both angles are supplementary. Then transitive property of equality. What does it mean? The transitive property of equality states the following. If one value A is equal to another value B, which is equal to another value C, then the first value A is equal to the third value C. What does it mean? It means that if there is one value which is A equals to B, but B equals to C, so it means that both A and B would also be equal to each other. Now starting the proof. Statement says that angle POB plus AOP is equals to 180 degrees. Where is POB? There it is, POB and AOP. AOP. This is AOP and POB. So they both add up to make 180 degrees. How do we know? Because non-common arms AO, this is AO, and OB of adjacent angles are collinear. So by the supplement postulate. What was the supplement postulate? Supplement postulate says that whenever there are two angles on a same line or they make a linear pair, like AOP and POB is making a linear pair over here, so they both add up to make 180 degrees, which is supplementary angle. So they both add up to make supplementary angles. It means that this is equals to 180 degrees. Number 2 statement says that angle AOP and the measurement of angle AOQ. This is AOP and AOQ. So they both are two angles and they both also form a linear pair. So by the same reason, they both also equals to 180 degrees. So angle POB plus angle measurement of angle AOP is equals to the measurement of angle AOP plus measurement of angle AOQ. How do we know? Because of the transitive property of equality. What was the transitive property of equality? The transitive property of equality says that if one thing is equals to the second one, but the second one equals to the third one, so it means that the first and the third are also equal. So two quantities are equal to the same quantities, which is 180 degrees. So this is the quantity number 1, which is equals to the second quantity, and this is quantity number third, which is also equals to the second quantity. So it means that if both the quantities are equal to the same quantity, they both are also equal to each other. So that's how we know that these both angles, both pairs add up to the same value. So what do we conclude over here now? And measurement of angle POB is equals to the measurement of angle AOQ. How do we know that? Because in the previous quantities we could see that there was the measurement of angle AOP on both sides of the equal sign. So whenever there are same thing on the both side of the equal sign, we can cancel it up. So we have cancelled measurement of angle AOP, which left up by the measurement of angle POB and the measurement of angle AOQ, which are both equal to each other. But wait, where is POB? In the figure, you can see this is POB and this is AOQ. So you can observe that the both angles are vertically opposite to each other. It means that we have already proved that the vertically opposite angles so formed were equal to each other. And if they are equal to each other in measure, so it means they are also congruent to each other. So the angle POB is congruent to the angle AOQ. Similarly, we can also prove these two angles, which are vertically opposite angles, and we can from the same process we can prove that they both are also equals to each other. So that this was all for theorem number 1. Now starting theorem number 2. Theorem number 2 says that if a side of a triangle is extended, the exterior angle so formed is in measure greater than either of the two interior opposite angles. So what was the theorem? Theorem was that if there is a triangle, suppose we have made a triangle ABC. So if this is the triangle, so there is a side which has been extended to E. So this is a triangle and we have extended a side to E. So it means that the exterior angle which has formed over here is ACE. So ACE is greater than the opposite interior angle. The opposite interior angle would be angle A and angle B. These are opposite to angle ACE and they are also interior angles. So it means that the theorem says that whenever there is a triangle and we have extended a side, so an exterior angle is formed. So whenever this exterior angle is formed, it is greater than the interior opposite angles. So first interior opposite angle is angle A and the second is angle B. So what we have to prove over here? We have to prove that angle ACE is greater than angle A. Also angle ACE is greater than angle B. So to prove that, we have constructed some of the things over here. We have constructed a line. First, we have cut down AC from the midpoint. From the midpoint, it means that AO and OC is equals to each other. Then from this midpoint, we have joined angle B. Also, we have extended this line till D in such a manner that BO is also congruent to D. Then we have joined this D with this C. So we have joined over here this thing. So it means that we have concluded that AO and OC is congruent, also BO and OD is congruent. And you can observe that two triangles are being formed, AOB and OCD over here. So what was given? The given thing was that there is a triangle ABC and there is an exterior angle which is ACE. What we have to prove? We have to prove that exterior angle ACE is greater in measurement from the measurement of angle A. Also, the measurement of angle ACE is greater than the measurement of angle B. What we have constructed? We have constructed that let O be the midpoint of AC. First we cut down the AC from the mid. Then we have draw BO and cut it off OD which is congruent to BO. So we have extended the BO till D in such a manner that OD was congruent to BO. Then we have also drawn CD. We joined the D from the C. So what are the proofs over here? The proofs are that in statements we can see that we are comparing two triangles, triangle AOB and triangle COD. Where is AOB? This is triangle AOB and this is COD. So we are going to compare these two triangles in which we can see that AO is congruent to OC. Also, angle AOB is congruent to COD. How come do we know that? Because of the vertically opposite angle theorem, which was theorem number 1, in which we have concluded that whenever two lines intersect, this is line number 1, this is line number 2, so the vertically opposite angles so formed are congruent to each other. So we have proved it into the previous theorem, so we don't have to prove it over here. We are sure that these two angles are congruent to each other. Now, BO is also congruent to DO. This is BO and this is DO. So they are also congruent to each other. How do we know? Because we have constructed it in such a manner. So it means that the both triangles AOB and OCD are congruent to each other. How do we know that? Because of the SAS postulate. What does it mean by SAS postulate? Side angle side postulate. This is side number 1, this is side number 2, and this is an angle. So whenever two sides and an angle of two triangles are equal to each other, it means that they both are also congruent to each other. So it means that if they both are congruent to each other, their corresponding angles will also be equal to each other. So angle A is equals to the measurement of angle OCD. Why? Because if these two triangles are congruent to each other, so the corresponding angles. So the angle A is corresponding angle to the angle AOCD. So they both are also congruent to each other. Now, moving forward, but angle ACE is equals to OCD and DCE. What does it mean? It means that there are two angles OCD and DCE which makes up ACE. Clear? There are two angles OCD and DCE. They both together are making angle ACE. So it means that their sum would be equals to angle ACE. But we know that angle A is congruent to angle C, which is OCD. So if angle A is congruent to angle OCD, it means that if we compare ACE with OCD, so what would be greater? Angle ACE. How do we know? Because OCD is just a part of ACE. So the whole is greater than its part. So this is the part of ACE. So it is smaller, and ACE is a whole angle. It is greater. So if angle A is equals to OCD and OCD is smaller than ACE, it means that angle A would also be smaller than angle ACE. How do we know that? Because we are sure that angle OCD is a part, ACE is the whole, and whole is greater than the part. So whenever this angle is smaller than the greater one, so it means that their congruent angle are also greater, smaller than the angle ACE. So in the same manner, angle B is also smaller than angle ACE, which we have to prove in this theorem. So we have also proved this theorem. Now coming towards theorem number 4, which is the converse of theorem number 3. Theorem number 3 says that if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, the alternate angles so formed are congruent. What does it mean? It means that whenever there are two lines over there, this is L and this is M, so they are parallel to each other. So a transversal cuts the line. So what does it mean? It means that whenever there are two parallel lines and a transversal intersect these lines, so the alternate angles so formed are congruent. So what we have to prove? We have to prove that there are parallel lines. So the transversal has cut the lines. Alternate angles means that one angle is over here and the one angle is over here. So alternate is 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. So we have also make over here a line which is line number CB, which is the contradiction to the line previous lines. So L is parallel to the M and line N intersects them at point A and B respectively. What we have to prove? We have to prove that angle 1 is congruent to 3 and angle 2 is congruent to 4. So suppose angle 1 is congruent to 3, but angle 1 is congruent to angle ABC, where BC does not lie on M. So by Playfair's axiom, what do we know? That both of the two intersecting lines cannot be parallel to the same line. So there is the statement which says that angle 1 is congruent to angle ABC by supposition. Angle 1 is over here and angle ABC is over here. So what we have done over here, we have created a contradiction, and we are saying that this angle 1 is congruent to angle ABC instead of angle 3, which is our theorem. So there are two ways to prove a theorem. First, we can prove it as it is by the prior truths. Second, we add up a contradiction. We say that this is not correct. What we are saying is correct. If we succeed to prove that what we are saying is not correct, it means the first thing was correct. So it means that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 is said by the theorem. But we are saying that instead of angle 1 congruent to angle 3, it is congruent to angle ABC. So we have supposed this thing. So L is parallel to BC. This is L and BC is this. If this angle 1 is congruent to angle ABC, it means that they are they are parallel to each other. How do we know that? We have known it by theorem number 3. But L is parallel to M, which has been given. So L is parallel to two intersecting lines M and BC, which is impossible. Why? Because by Playfair's axiom, we also know that two intersecting lines cannot be parallel to each other. So if L is parallel to M or L is parallel to BC, there could be one possibility. The both intersecting lines cannot be parallel to line L at the same time by Playfair's axiom. Therefore, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Why? Because our supposition that angle 1 is congruent to ABC leads to an absurd result. If it is impossible, so it means that angle 1 can never be congruent to angle ABC. So it means that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, which was the statement of the theorem, and it was right. Similarly, angle 2 is also congruent to angle 4. By this above process, we have concluded that. Now moving towards theorem number 7. In any correspondence of two triangles, if one side and any two angles of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding side and angles of the other, the two triangles are congruent. What does it mean? It means that there are two triangles. So we are saying that in any correspondence of two triangles, if one side of any two angles and any two angles of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding side and angles of the other, the two triangles are congruent to each other as well. So I have constructed over here three types of triangles, saying that one triangle is congruent to the other. How? Because one side and two angles of these triangles are congruent to each other. So we have also put some contradictions over here. We are saying that triangle ABC is congruent to PQR. But we have added P dash over here, saying that maybe this ABC is not congruent to PQR but congruent to P dash QR. Or over here we have constructed this P dash or P complement under the triangle. So we can say that in this triangle, angle ABC is not congruent to PQR but P complement and QR. So this is the contradiction which we have added over here to prove that we are wrong but the theorem is right. So in given triangles ABC, we are comparing it with the triangle PQR. So BC is congruent to QR and angle B is congruent to angle Q. So this is angle, this is side BC is congruent to QR, and angle B is congruent to angle Q, and angle A is congruent to angle P. So what we have to prove? We have to prove that these both triangles ABC are congruent to PQR. Before starting the proof, let me clarify some of the definitions. First is corollary definition. So what does it mean by corollary? Something that results from something else. What does it mean? It means that whenever there is a prior fact which has been established, so we can prove multiple things out of this fact. So proving or resultant of these facts can be called as the corollary. Third angle theorem. What does it mean by third angle theorem? If two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third angles are also congruent. It means that whenever there is a triangle like ABC and DEF, these are two triangles, so the corresponding angles, angle A is congruent to angle D, angle B is congruent to angle E. The third angle which has been left, which is C is and F, so they both are also congruent. How? Because every triangle is equals to 180 degrees. So whenever two angles of a triangle are congruent to the two angles of other triangles, then the degrees which has been left from these two can be fit with the third angles. So it means that the both angles, which is angle C and angle F, would also be congruent to each other. Moving forward, SAS postulate. What does it mean by SAS postulate? It means side angle side postulate. If two sides and the included angle of one triangle are congruent to the two sides and the included angle of the second triangle, then the triangles are congruent. What does it mean? It means that if there is a one triangle like JKL and PQR is the second triangle, so their corresponding sides, JK is congruent to PQ, LK is congruent to QR, and the included angle. Included angle means that the angle in between these sides, which is angle A over here and angle A over here, which is the included angle of these two sides. So if these two sides and the included angle are congruent to each other, it means both the triangles would also be congruent. Postulate number 9 says that the angle construction postulate. For any two angles, angle ABC and angle DEF, such that measurement of angle ABC is greater than measurement of angle DEF, there is a unique ray EG such that a measurement of angle ABC is equals to the measurement of angle GEF. What does it mean? It means that if there is an angle over here, like it is ABC, and there is another angle which is DEF, so you can clearly see that DEF is greater than angle ABC. So if this is greater than this one, so we have constructed a ray in between, which is called as EG, in such a manner that ABC is equals to GEF. So there is always a possibility that wherever there is a greater triangle and a smaller one, angle and a smaller one, so we can always put a ray in between them to make the greater angle equal to the one of the angle would be equal to the measurement of the first one. For example, this is DEF, the full angle. We have drawn an array over here, which is EG. So there are two angles formed over here. So one of them is congruent to the first angle. Now, moving towards the statements and the reasons. In triangle ABC and PQR, we are comparing ABC and this is PQR. Both are PQR. We are comparing that angle A is congruent to angle P and angle B is congruent to angle Q, which was given. So therefore angle C is also equals to angle R. How? Because of the theorem number 5, corollary 6. What was the theorem about? It is that whenever there are two angles of two triangles equal to each other or congruent to each other, then the third angle would also be congruent to the third angle of the second triangle. So If AB is congruent to PQ, it means that C is also congruent to R. Then if we suppose that BA is not congruent to QP, so we have took a point P dash over here and in this triangle P dash over here. So you can say that P complement is over here, or P complement, we have extended QP till P complement, so it has become QP complement. So we are saying, we are assuming, we have done a contradiction over here, we have added that AB is not congruent to PQ but congruent to QP complement. Now comparing triangle ABC with triangle P dash or P complement QR. So in P complement QR, BC is congruent to QR, which was given, and angle B is congruent to angle Q, which is also given. But by supposition, we are saying that BA is not congruent to PQ, but it is congruent to QP complement. So whenever there is the case, the triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQ P complement QR. How? Because two sides and an angle between them are congruent. So the triangles are also congruent by the SAS postulate. So since angle C is congruent to angle QR and P complement. How? Because of the congruence of the triangle. So we know that whenever there are the two triangles are congruent to each other, their corresponding angles are also congruent. So angle C is congruent to QRP complement. But what do we see over here? We see that angle C is congruent to angle QRP. Angle C was congruent to angle QRP. How? Because we have proved over here angle C is equals to angle R. So it means that QRP and QR complement would also be equals to each other. How? Because of the transitive property of congruence. So we are already know that whenever one thing is equals to the other thing and the second thing is congruent to the third thing, so it means that the first and the last is are also congruent to each other. So if angle C is congruent to this one and angle C is also congruent to this one, so these two things are also congruent to each other. But this is only possible when P dash is equals to P, or they coincide with each other. And PRP is equals to RP complement. How? What do they want to say? They want to say that angle ABC is congruent to PQR. It has been proved by the SAS postulate. But angle triangle ABC is congruent to P complement Q and R. How? Because we have supposed that. If we have supposed that, it means that angle C is either congruent to PQR or either congruent to P dash QR. Right? So if we are saying that this angle C is congruent to them both, it means that they both would also be equals to each other. Like PQR and P dash QR would also be equals to each other. But this is only possible when P dash coincides with point P or is exactly equals to point P. But here is not the case. So what is the case over here? The case says that a triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR. So hence BA is congruent to PQ. BA is congruent to PQ. Why? Because we are supposing that both the points are P and P dash are coinciding with each other. So in triangle ABC and triangle PQR, you can see BC is congruent to QR Angle B is congruent to angle Q, and BA is congruent to QP. So it means that both the sides and an angle between them are congruent to each other. It means that if this is the case, then both the triangles are also congruent to each other by SAS postulate, which we have discussed earlier. So if the both the triangles are congruent to each other, so it has been proved that if in any correspondence of two triangles, if one side and any two angles of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding sides and the angles of the other, then the triangles are congruent to each other. So that's all for now. Home task is that learn and practice theorem number 1, 2, 4 and 7. That's all from my side. Thank you. Allah Hafiz. Have a nice day.